Hi, and welcome to church. My name is Michelle Hopp, and I serve Poinette's Community United Methodist Church here in Wisconsin. And I'm glad that you could join me today as we continue to explore our purposes, what God has put us on earth to do, whether it's for a lifetime or for a day or an hour. What does God want us to do? And today we're going to talk about no time wasted, because when we don't have the answer to what we think our purpose should be, we often feel like we're wasting time or we're just wandering about. But with God, no time is wasted. And this time is a great time when you're wandering or unsure to figure out creatively what it is God wants you to do. So 2 Sundays ago, I left church a little later than usual, and so by the time I got to the ferry, which is my ride home, the lines on both sides of the lake were really, really long, which is pretty common on a Sunday afternoon. So I finally got on, because it only takes 15 cars at a time, and I wasn't in the first load. And by the time I got on, I had a really great ride across. And when I went to start my car to get off the ferry, it wouldn't start. That has been my worst fear of driving or riding on that ferry for forever. Since I was 10 years old, I have ridden a ferry, that Merrimack ferry, and I often thought, what would it feel like to be stuck on the ferry? Well, I learned it. And I didn't know what to do. All I heard was the click, 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 click. I mean, it had just started to get out of the ferry. My goodness, it just started for me to go to church. But there was clearly something wrong with my battery. And so I got out of my van, I talked to the 2 cars behind me, and they were able to maneuver and get off on another lane, which I was grateful for. And finally I got the ferry driver's attention after he's beeping his horn on me, kind of telling me to go, which I can't do. And he comes out of his cabin, and I said, I'm so sorry, but my car won't start. And he says, that's okay. And he ran in and he got a card of a local towing company. And he said, they're real good. They usually don't take a very long time. I'm thinking, so does that mean, in my head, I'm thinking, does that mean I have to ride back and forth, hogging up an entire lane for an hour or more until this towing company comes? So I had another idea. And I'm not good at mechanical stuff, but I knew this was a possibility. So I said to the ferry driver, do you think that if I put my van in neutral, we could get enough strong people to push me off the ferry so I'm out of everybody's way? And he thought that was a great idea. So from up on the deck, he waved some people from the Merrimack line to come help me because they could see what was going on. Pretty soon I had 3 burly guys run up the ramps, and then the ferry driver ran down the stairs, and they pushed me off and parked me right in front of the ice cream stand, which is a great place to have to wait. And then I called my grandson, because he's mechanically inclined. He came and he jumped my van, and we drove together up to an auto parts store. We got a battery. He put it in right in the parking lot. It was a wild experience. And as all of this took place, I felt God's presence in all of this, because I was taken care of. My van did not miraculously start, which is what I would have liked, but God put all these people and solutions in my way so that all of that waiting wasn't a waste. And during that waiting, I learned valuable lessons that I'm never alone and that people are good. As humans, we want certainty, solutions, and directions. And when we don't find them, sometimes we're tempted to believe that God is nowhere to be found. We worry that we're either wasting our time, or if our uncertainty lasts for a long time, that we are wasting our lives. Well, not surprisingly, because of this human tendency to want certainty, the Bible is filled with countless stories of people who find God while they're waiting. In Exodus 16, the Israelites are starving as they wander in the wilderness, and the wilderness was the desert. They can no longer rely on their own efforts, and they're desperate to find food. God helps them in a new and creative way. You see, because they were so hungry, the whole community came to complain to Moses and Aaron. They said, "We wish the Lord had just killed us when we were in Egypt. Even though we were enslaved, we could sit by the pots of cooking meat and eat all the bread we wanted. Instead, you brought us into this desert to starve us to death." You can read this whole account in Exodus 16. Well, in desperation, Moses goes to the Lord with their complaint. And after listening to the Lord, Moses came back to tell the people, "The Lord will give you meat to eat in the evening and your fill of bread in the morning." Well, that's what happened. The Lord sent quails in the evening, and the people were able to catch and eat them for meat. And then in the morning, they would find on the ground, like frost, a substance called manna, which was a food for them. And it was like coriander seed. It was white, and it tasted like honey wafers. God gave the Israelites just enough food to take the next steps of their journey. So often, we want to rush through our wilderness moments. Those times where we don't know where we are, where the provisions will come from. We just want to get through it. We want to get to the finished land or the promised land or of our lives and our purpose, or at least we want to know and see the path that clearly is in front of us. But sometimes God only gives us enough for us to take the next faithful step. What does it say about the value of time spent in the wilderness? Have you ever read the book Wild by Cheryl Strayed? It's a really, really good book. And it reminded me of this whole situation of finding yourself in the wilderness and in the wandering. She is an author, Cheryl Strayed. She wrote the memoir Wild, and it chronicles her 1,100 solo hike on the Pacific Crest Trail. She was in her early 20s. Her mother had just died, and she just got divorced. She was in a lot of pain. She was making really bad decisions. She knew she needed to find herself and find her purpose. So she decided to go on this huge hike all by herself. Well, in one of the challenges that she faced was lack of water. And she was really low on her water supply. And when she arrived at the designated water tank, she found a sign that said, "No water." It was 100 degrees out. It was hot. She had next to no water. She was miles away from another water source. She was terrified. With great difficulty, she eventually reached a reservoir a few miles away. Have you ever seen the water in a reservoir? Especially if it's kind of drought-like. Oh, it was mucky looking water. And she was desperate, but she was also prepared. She had what she needed. So she used her water purifier and iodine tablets that she had with her. She pumped the muddy water into her bottles through the purifier and then dropped in the iodine tablets to kill bacteria. The purification process took about 30 minutes before the water was safe to drink. On another hot night, Cheryl opted to sleep outside her tent because she was so hot. She woke up covered in hundreds of little black frogs. Despite these terrifying adventures, Strayed adopted a mantra. She would say, "I am not afraid," to help her push through these challenges that she could never have anticipated. Her journey on the Pacific Crest Trail became a transformative experience where she confronted her fears and thought about her grief, ultimately finding healing in a new direction. So, where do you feel lost or stuck in your life right now? You may feel like the only way you know how to move forward is to play a game of rock, paper, scissors. You just don't know which direction to go. But perhaps it's okay not to know the way. Maybe you are closer than you think, because these stuck places are God's specialty for doing something new. Even if you cannot rush ahead to the other side of the wilderness and get to the promised land, where what resources of manna did God give you already to take the next faithful step? When the Israelites were starving in the wilderness, God gave them quails and manna. When I sat sat in my van on the ferry with my dead battery, God did not miraculously start my van. Instead, God sent me manna, a kind ferry driver, strong, kind people who were willing to push my van, my grandson who helped me out, and the people at the auto parts store who helped me get the right battery. All of those parts to helping me, I believe, were God giving me bits of manna, just enough to get me to the next point of my journey. So when you feel lost or stuck, look for manna. God often provides for us in the most unexpected ways. So this week, think about where you are having times of wandering. Are they happening now? Many of us go through that frequently. Have they happened in the past? And what can you look for manna? Those are indications that God is providing for you. I hope you have a wonderful week. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.